All doctors to the ER.
Do these guys have any idea what they are talking about?
Get squared away.
Spiritual.
Get squared away.
Emotional.
Get squared away.
Mental.
Get squared away.
Physical.
The podcast that'll help you get squared away.
We are back with episode 24. Damn. 24, 25?
I think it's 24. Oh, I think it's 25.
Damn. Holy crap. Okay. 25.
Quarter.
Wow. All right. Should we light into these current events? Because the last episode was Jimmy Smith. It was an awesome episode, but we didn't get to talk about all the crazy shit going on.
Yeah. What do you want to start?
You lead me in.
I mean, you got alphabetical order here. You got Afghanistan. I mean, that's, wrapping up newswide right now.
Yep.
I think it's just begun.
The thing is does this actually enlighten anyone to the poor leadership inside organizations, or is it the entire leadership inside the military? What do you think was the cause of this? I mean, you see a lot of guys that's talking, especially like the Black Rifle Coffee guys on the podcast you sent me, and you see them talk about like the wokeness in the military and the bullshit and everybody worrying more about all of that garbage and not actually worrying about how to run the fucking military. I don't know enough about it to say, but I mean, it sounds perfectly right on from what I hear from, all my friends that are in. It sounds like that's a big fucking issue.
Yeah, I think that's one segment that is a huge problem, is the leadership in the military, and they're calling. I mean, there's some stuff coming out right now. Today, I heard that Secretary of State Blinken, basically had tried to wash out one of Trump's legislations, or not, I shouldn't say legislation, but basically had a, I don't want to script the details here, but basically it nullifies having support from the State Department in an event like this, which is telling everybody that he knew what was going to happen in Afghanistan, that was going to fall apart, but he didn't want responsibility in it. So by nullifying Trump's, it's we have to look it up.
So would it be basically pulling the State Department's responsibility? It's
pushing the responsibility off to the Pentagon.
Okay.
So that's coming out right now. The other thing that really has hit me on this is I think it's all tied together. You know how most of the guys are getting folks out, or getting the interpreters and their families out and the American citizens out. And it's kind of fishy that, this 100,000 that, Biden's patting himself on the back about, all of those are just, these people need interpreters. These are just Afghani refugees. So this has nothing to do with the original. These aren't
friends and allies necessarily.
Not the targeted population that we would have strategically pulled out. So what's crazy about it, and, if you want to put a bookmark on this and follow up on this a month later, is where are these folks going to end up? And I'm willing to bet that these folks are going to end up in the swing states.
Yeah.
If you can think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, so, that would make a lot of sense. And it's kind of questionable, right? Because they're not just instantly given visas.
Right.
Right? I mean, they still have to go through and apply and get issued their visas, and they have to go through all the same paperwork to get a citizenship. So is this basically just like the southern border?
Yeah. You hit it right in the head. I was just going to say that is it's kind of fishy that you got the southern border wide open going into these swing states, and then you have a non-civ or non-special visa folks that were basically all pulled into these planes. I think 15 planes landed in Fort McCoy, which is close to us, yesterday. And the feds are pushing to get another 11,000 here in Wisconsin. So,
and somebody I was talking to said that those people, and I get it, they're human beings, and human rights are super important. But somebody was saying that they're just going to be able to come and go as they please.
Yeah.
That seems questionable to me for non-citizens, right? Like
Correct.
once you get your citizenship, that makes perfect sense. But for non-citizens, that should be treated like a foreign country in the middle of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And Texas, right? Those are the two big bases that they're putting them up at.
Yeah, two of the most known. Now I'm hearing that they're funneling through into Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. They're looking at Florida. You don't see any in California.
That's weird.
So I don't know. I think all of this is tied together. I mean, get the tinfoil hat out, but I'm willing to bet that in the next couple months you're going to see that. I think the Democrats are just pushing these 4 years to get reelected. They spent a ton of effort on that. So, we can talk about the military, but I think everything's starting to point to this.
What do you think the chances are that in negotiations with the Taliban, China wanted to buy all the nutrient rights, mineral rights from Afghanistan and leaned on the Taliban and said, hey, we want to buy, we're going to give you 10 cents on the dollar for all of these mineral rights. And the Taliban said, sounds good. We'll take your payment. Your responsibility is to get the United States out of here so we can sell you these rights. We can take over the country and then we will be running the country and can sell you these rights. And then China leaned on the current administration and said, you need to get out immediately.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet a ton on that. Wow. Everybody's going to give you the tinfoil hat now.
And that's fine. You can put the tinfoil hat on, but we all know how backroom negotiations go. We've all been in the middle of it. I mean, I do it for a living. It's not, it's on such a smaller scale, but it's all right. I can't come down any lower on this price, but I can get this out of you, right? Features to benefits. And it's negotiating with everything that you have to negotiate with. And right there would make perfect sense. No, we're not going to come down, we'll come down to 20 cents on the dollar versus 30 cents on the dollar, but your responsibility is going to be getting them out of here, because if we have to keep fighting and keep fighting and keep fighting to win these battles, then it's going to cost us that much longer, and it's going to take us, cost us that much more money and take us that much longer.
And now is the prime time. I mean, lithium is really needed in the next move of technology here. So
there was and I'm going to have to look this up. I can't exactly remember. If you guys want to look this up, it's super simple to find, but there was a scientist that was originally from the battery department at Tesla that ended up finding out how to blend lithium with this black sand, this black mineral sand, and it makes batteries like 100 times more 100 times stronger or 100 times lighter, right? Depending on if you want a lighter battery or a stronger battery. And that technology is just at the verge of getting, patented. So that would mean that we need that much less lithium, but I don't know how that black sand, whatever it's called black sand, but I don't know, where does that come from? What is that involved? Is that something that's man-made? Is it something they have to mine for? I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of advantages for China to be taking Afghanistan. Not only just resources, but you're talking, the obvious clue should have been when we pulled out and our embassy shut down. I mean, China and Russia pretty much were open for business. So, something's got to really tell you something there versus, the media spinning that, Biden's ending the endless wars. Well, there wasn't a war going on. There hadn't been a casualties, for 18 years?
It was the Afghan National Army, and we were support and training, right? I mean, that was the idea.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we trained them to use us as air support, and that's literally we're just working hand in hand with them.
I mean, if you're China, though, right? The friend of my enemy, no, what? The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
Yeah.
So right there, you look at the Taliban. Do you know? Is there much of an Islamic population in China?
Is there much of an Islamic? Not very. I mean, you'd be surprised when I'm in China over there. I actually see a lot of either Christians or Buddhists.
Okay.
So there's not a big Islamic rush over there.
Okay. Because that would be something, yes, their 50-year plan, I understand, is getting all this stuff, but that would be something I would worry about as far as China, because whenever a religion that's that powerful comes in, you as the government are number two. You're not number one in a value structure in that entire, and that's part of the reason that the Middle East is the way that it is right now, is because, Islam is a religion, but it's also a governmental, body, basically.
Yeah. You slip something in there. I mean, the 50-year plan here. I mean, people have to realize that, China's, there's a lot that they have against the U.S. And, quoting back to what Sun Tzu is to just to have a victory without firing a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way they're going to play. So don't think that they're just going to, they're not going to come here and invade and, force conventional war.
No, this is chess.
Yeah.
They're playing chess. They're playing 50-year chess. And we're playing checkers every 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah, because
I don't like your guy. I'm going to vote in my guy.
Yeah.
I don't like you. You don't like my guy. I don't like you across the street from me.
Yeah. And then you got the vaccination, and now everybody's, the unvaccinated, the vaccinated. And I just talked to my family yesterday that's over there, and they're like, yeah, we don't have anything going on. The pandemic's pretty much cleared here. So they're like, yeah, you better be careful over there where you are, where they're speaking to me. It's like, it's more of a power play now. So they're not worried about vaccines over there. They're not worried about the, pandemic, or she calls it an epidemic all the time. But, what are we doing here?
Well, so first of all, we're pushing fear, right? We're fear mongers. My daughter has a stuffy nose. She had to come home from school Wednesday.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I think I saw a post on that.
She had to come home from school Wednesday. She had to get a COVID test. The nurse calls my wife. She's like, yeah, she has a stuffy nose, and she said her throat hurts a little bit. So I would suggest you go get a COVID test and maybe a strep test. And my wife's like, probably not going to get her a COVID test. Like, I'll come get her. But she's like, oh, well, actually, you have to have one to come back. So she gets the rapid test and she gets the long-term test done. The rapid test comes back negative. She still can't come back to school. Can't come back to school until the regular test comes back negative.
What's wrong with the rapid test?
I have no fucking idea. So the rapid test comes back today at noon. Well, so my daughter's been off school since Wednesday at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock.
But they won't take the rapid test.
They won't take the rapid. They do it.
So what, are they paying for the test?
I have no idea. They must be. I mean, they offered to do it there. I don't know.
Oh, so they did the testing there?
They did the test at school. But apparently in the Madison Metropolitan School District, which is way worse than Sun Prairie, they have rapid testing kiosks out front. And if you test positive, or negative, you come back into school.
Jeez. I mean, what is that doing? I mean, you got this, like you're talking about fear, but the fatality rate, I mean, let's go a little farther. The fatality rate of whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated is the same. By what? What's the delta? I'm not talking delta variant.
Yeah.
I'm talking delta percentages. You're talking a fraction of a percent.
Yeah.
Where the fatality risk is already a fraction of a percent. And we do a lot of stuff every day that is a higher risk than a fraction of a percent. I mean, should we just stop driving, stop eating? And that's the thing.
And right there, you hit it right on the head. I'm not saying COVID's not real. I had it. Trust me, it sucks. But I've also had a lot of other things that fucking suck, right? I am saying that I take a calculated risk every time I get in my car. I take a calculated risk every time I put food that I didn't prepare in my stomach, right? I take a calculated risk all the time. I'm not scared, and I'm not letting it run my life.
Yeah. I mean, you have every ability to mitigate every risk in your life.
Yeah.
Or you have every ability to sit in your room. So, we are America. We have the freedom. If you want to stay home and sit in a little bubble, that's, your choice, but don't infringe that on everyone else. I mean, our whole country is turning into where, how is it that all these unhealthy people are just raining down on healthy people? I mean, we manage our health, and that's why we're not scared of what's there, right? When you manage your health, you got more information that you're taking in, learning about your body, learning about your health, learning about your immune system, and learning about whether to or not to take the vaccine.
But it's comparison, right? It's saying I would have to work really hard to be healthy and be safe. You do work really hard to be healthy and safe. I don't want to have to work and be healthy and safe. So I am going to shit on you for putting in the work because it'll make me feel better about not putting in the work.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, because I'm not an anti-vaxxer. It's, measles, mumps work great. Polio obviously worked.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? If I'm doing just a very little bit of homework, like first layer, I know that, hey, guess what? These vaccines haven't gone through the testing. These vaccines technically aren't fully approved like they say they are. And it's not, the approved aren't available anyway.
Yeah, and what just happened in Japan? Another 2 million doses got pulled because there was foreign contaminants in the vials.
Oh, yeah. And right now there's a possibility that the spike protein could be, a neurotoxin, because the rate of deaths right now reported by a government, by VAERS, is basically showing that there's more death just from these vaccinations than the history of any other vaccination combined. So to me, wouldn't that be a, risk reward analysis? Like,
so I will say the weird one with that VAERS is VAERS doesn't take in, it takes in the amount of deaths, right? So you read 50,000 deaths and that looks really fucking scary, but that doesn't necessarily mean 50,000 deaths from the vaccination. That means 50,000 deaths. So how many people have been vaccinated in our country? There's 300 million people. We're at 40%. So
350, and they're saying some people are reporting 51%. Some are saying,
so
40,
let's say 150 million, right? So 50,000 deaths looks really scary until you look at it at 100 versus 150 million. And then it just looks like a normal death rate.
Right.
Because people are born every day and people die every day. So that's also a weird one with VAERS. You got to kind of sift through and look at the research and look at the numbers in a bigger format.
Yeah.
And
what they're saying too, or, what's being collected in the data portion is those that are dying from it, the fatalities, 4 to 5% of that is directly from COVID.
Yeah.
So the rest of it has at least an average of, what is it? And it was even on Rogan too. They did they looked it up, 4 to 5% comorbidities, or 4 to 5 different comorbidities, not percent.
Yeah.
Out of all the deaths. So it's
okay. So we got Afghanistan A. I don't think there's anything for B. C. We got COVID. What's next?
I don't know.
What else is going on?
I just hope nobody turned it off after you start talking.
I know,
COVID.
right?
I think people are so sick of it now.
That's kind of why I was like, all right, let's move on. Let's get into the next.
Just trying to give you data events. And just not trying to explain. Hey, we're not anti-vaxxers or label anything. We're just people that we're doing research before we make a decision that's going to affect our families long term. Yeah, that's all it is.
All right, what else is going on in current events?
Shit, I don't know. There's a ton of shit going on in China right now.
What's going on in China? Tell me what's going on in China.
Oh, they are now trying to tell parents, to sum it up, how to raise their kids. They're controlling how much time a child is on electronic device. I think 3 hours a day, 3 hours over 3 days. I don't know. There's a lot of.
I don't hate that. I get that it's parenting, and I get that it's government stepping in and it's invading boundaries. I get that, and invading freedoms, but I also don't hate the idea of what they're trying to do there. So I'm not going to say it's okay.
I like it as a guideline.
Yes. Just
like, our government should be doing some quote, public service announcements on, hey, guess what? If your waistline is, freaking 40 some inches, you might want to do this. And
right.
Maybe have Biden do a jazzercise, video class you can log into every day or something. It. So, or maybe Harris, she could be good for something.
Right.
Do some, jazzercise.
Elon Musk is releasing a robot.
No, I didn't see that.
You didn't? Humanistic robot. Humanistic? That's not the right word. Human.
Like the iRobot movie?
Basically, it looks like the iRobot movie. It does.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it legitimately looks like the iRobot movie. Robot.
So what's the purpose, reasoning?
To help. It's going to help around the house. It's going to do specific. I don't exactly remember what it's supposed to do. We can figure that out later and chat about it for the next podcast. But yeah, no.
Know that.
Dude, he's on the verge of super genius and super villain. When you think about like the cartoons that we had growing up, like he's right on that verge. Like I could see him crossing over at some point in time into that like super villain role, right?
No kidding.
I mean, SpaceX, Tesla, Solar City, the tunnel from LA to San Francisco, Skynet. If you don't, do you know what Skynet is? Is it called Skynet? Yeah, it's called Skynet.
Skynet's from the Terminator movie, man.
But I think it's called Skynet.
No, you're gonna have to look that one up because.
All right, give me a second.
If it's Skynet, then this is getting a little eerie here.
And he's fun. Starlink. Shit, I was wrong. Okay,
jeez.
Right. So Starlink is satellite internet. So every time SpaceX flies flights, part of what pays for those flights is people to send up satellites. They do some human flights, but a lot of it is just sending satellites up because we don't think about it. Like we send garbage into space every fucking day or every month.
Yeah.
And so Starlink is satellites that link together and basically create a network of a net. If you think of what a fishnet would look like, of network for satellite internet. Jeez. And it will give satellite internet to all these areas where there is no fiber, there is no cable, there is no phone line, right?
He's not going to end up being the new Bill Gates or Facebook dude collecting information. That's a lot of packets going through space here.
So Bill Gates is a weird one. I have no idea. Like Rogan always said, I would like to get that guy so fucking high on mushrooms and have a conversation with him. Like, what's really in his head? Like, what does he really think he's helping people, or is he really just a fucking mad scientist, madman that's like trying to, depopulize the earth? Yeah. Or does he really think he's helping? Because it started out with the biggest thing. So the number one killer of all humans throughout history is malaria. So it started out with trying to get malaria in track, and they've done a lot of things. There's these awesome mosquitoes that they've genetically engineered. One mosquito will then have a baby. The baby can't have more babies. What's that called? Infertile? Whatever. So these mosquitoes come in, they take over an entire populace in an area, kill off all the other native mosquitoes. They have babies, but then those babies can't have babies. So it is removing insect populations or mosquito populations from these areas drastically, because insects are what transfer malaria. Yeah. So like that's huge, right? Like that's the number one killer of humans ever. But then it gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and you start to hear the things that he's talking about, and it gets a little bit weird. So it's like, I don't fucking know. But anyways, I just think Mark Zuckerberg's I don't honestly think that he is doing any of it for any sort of malicious reason. I think he's just egotistical and on the autism spectrum, and he's going to get more powerful and more powerful and more powerful just because power is power. Right.
I think he's just gotten power hungry, not by intent, but
yeah, just because
situation he's in.
And I think that's less scary than somebody that's idealistic, right? Like somebody like Bill Gates that's idealistic, like then they can explain away anything that they do.
Yeah. Plus I heard he's some kind of sex fiend or something. He's got some weird shit.
Who isn't? Come on.
I don't know, man. Sounds like he's got some weird shit going on, but
that's kind of what comes out, right? Like he's getting a divorce. Isn't that right?
Yeah, he's getting a divorce. He had some side deal, meet with like his ex-girlfriend or wife or something. I don't know what the deal was for conjugal visits. And
well, I mean, it's a weird thing, right? It's this weird balance between what drives a human being to become so powerful, because that's not normal. Like that drive to perfect something so awesome that you become that powerful. But it's kind of like with Trump and Clinton. There's also some bad shit that comes along with that drive, So like, how do you have it without having the bad?
Trump had like the rock star, thing going on.
Yeah, dude, he fucking married some like how much younger is Melania? She's a fucking model. He's this old like I don't work out because you only have so many.
Yeah, Melania's my age.
Yeah. You only have so many heartbeats in a life. So why would I elevate my heart rate working out? That was what he said. Right.
Gotta cut that McDonald's back too.
It's this weird thing. With the hunger for greatness also comes so many other weird things. And that's kind of a fuck. I mean, the guy who created McAfee, like, you ever hear the story about him?
No.
The McAfee antivirus? Where are we at for
just
time?
That he died, but
okay, we're at 23 minutes. All right, let's get into this and then we'll deep dive. The guy that created the McAfee antivirus created it, and within a few years sold it off and became wealthier than you and I would ever even understand. I mean, he bought an island or bought a huge plot on an island and he moved to like somewhere in Bolivia or some crazy country in South America. Right. Yeah. And this dude's fucking weird. Like he was paying girls to shit on a table over him. Was like creating he had like his own militia in this country and all this fucking crazy shit. Killed his neighbor over some weird dispute, was in and out of court for that, was jacked up on some crazy local drug at some local handmade amphetamine all the time, was like, people were speculating that he had something to do with this like drug populating. Like it's just all these crazy stories, one after another, after another, after another. And then he dies and you're like, oh, like that same fucking weirdness that made this guy so crazy is also why he sat in his bedroom and coded this antivirus software by himself in a fucking year or whatever.
Yeah. That's some weird shit, man.
Right?
Weird shit.
So
there's so much stuff, man.
So
there's Mexico
much.
And there's fentanyl coming over here by the tons.
So, this is one thing I wanted to get out. You know, you don't, because of the media narrative, like I told you about this pharma book, right? So it was awesome. Finished the Jack Carr books. In one of the books, he mentions this book Pharma by Gerald Posner, I think. And I thought it was a fictitious book because I couldn't find it. And I just did a quick search and I couldn't find it. So I write him quick. I'm like, hey, is there any real book that you were thinking of when you quoted this book? And he writes back, no, it's a real book. And he gives me the author. And I'm like, oh shit. So I find it and I start reading it. This book is fucking awesome. I mean, it's called Pharma and it goes all the way back to the early 1900s when it was the Wild West. There was barbiturates, cocaine, heroin, alcohol, and then natural additives like roots and all that type of shit. That was all there was for drugs. There was no pharmaceuticals because there was no pharmacy and there was no prescriptions. There was just all these drugs. And like before the FDA, there was formaldehyde added to milk just to cover the spoilage smell so that they could sell milk to schools. Like it was fucked up. Like it was just ruthless business with zero morals. I think some crazy like 40% of the butter that they tested had zero dairy in it at all. It was just like homogenized oil. It was just all this fucked up stuff. Jeez. Anyways, completely this guy in this book completely skims over, but he mentions that prescription drugs, right? So you can only advertise prescription drugs in two countries. I think it's New Zealand and the United States. So those are the only countries where you can advertise prescription drugs to the actual end consumer. Otherwise, it has to be advertised. You can advertise, but it's only advertised to the person writing the prescription. Well, in the United States, because we have a personal payer system, it's not a government paying for it. Prescription drugs you set the price wherever you want them to set them. Because if you go to the doctor and they say you need so-and-so prescription for your shoulder that's sore, right? You're not saying, well, I can't afford that prescription because your health insurance is paying for it. So they set it wherever they want. So the Trump administration was trying to implement prescription pricing reform that would set all of the prices for all American prescriptions based on the average price of 17 different first world countries.
Jeez.
Make perfect sense.
Yeah.
Right? Because in those countries, those prices are set. So we're not saying it has to be exactly what France is, but we're saying it would be based off of an average of 17 countries where those prices are set. Completely just mentions it and skims right over it. Like that would be a big fucking deal.
Well, yeah.
But the book goes way further into it. It's like one or two families that basically pushed marketing for all pharmaceuticals and had their hands in every pharmaceutical company in the 30s, 40s, 50s. And then they would just make companies and license LLCs and make all these companies. And it would be the, magazine for scientific research that they would then start under a dummy company. And then they would do their own scientific research to be able to quote this scientific research in these advertisements that they would then send out. And it was all bullshit. But that then snowballed into the ridiculous, disgusting problem we have right now with pharmaceutical drugs, pharmaceutical drug prices, all the drugs that are being abused. It was all of this. was caused by this basically one family of 3 guys.
Jeez. So it's the history of pharma, technically?
Yes. Basically, it's the history of pharma and where it went wrong.
Wow.
And I'm not even all the way through it. I would talk more about it, but I'm only through basically like the 50s and 60s right now. So we're not even to really the epidemics that we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
So deep dive today. Deep dive into masculinity.
Masculinity.
Where should we start?
What is it? Define it.
Define masculinity. My definition is possessing traits traditionally attributed to men. Now, with that definition, it then goes into online when you're reading aggressiveness and some other stuff that, yes, in theory is part of masculinity, but it's also semantics, right? Because when you say aggressive today, that means way different than what aggressive meant 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
Aggressive now is almost looked at as a negative thing, which in some instances it is, in some instances it isn't. But it's assumably negative now, which assumably used to be positive.
That's what Google is saying.
What is Google? Tell me what Google says.
What Google is saying is qualities or attributes regarded as characteristic of men. Handsome, muscled, and driven. He's a prime example of masculinity.
Ooh,
Unquote.
I like Google's definition. Google's isn't as negative as Merriam-Webster's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's where you pulled that from?
Yeah. Well, I made my own definition off of their definition. But so let's talk about traits. I just have a laundry list of traits here that, I sort of pulled from some books, pulled from some videos. Strong when needs to be strong, compassionate when required, strong but not a bully, firm, patient, a natural leader, whether they hold a leadership role or not, persistent that doesn't back down from goals, physically and emotionally defend himself and his tribe, sharp mind and body, courageous, which is facing fear, like the Fear podcast, not being fearless, courageous, outgoing and experience focused. So you're focusing more on experiences, less on achieving things, more on achieving experience. Humble, confident, not arrogant, purpose driven, speaks with reason, educated, which doesn't mean educated as far as Ivy League education or college education, just a thirst for knowledge, has a strong knowledge base, empowers others around them to reach their goals, strong, strict value structure, lead by examples, feels emotions. And this is a big one, feels all emotions like everyone else, but understands how to control these emotions without letting the emotions control you, which I think is one of those big kind of, misconceptions of a masculine man, of a masculine human is, they're emotionless or they don't feel emotion. No, you feel all emotion, but in that gap between emotion and action, you have control and then can dictate the action that comes from the emotion. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
And decisive. Those are my list of traits.
Wow, you got those through those pretty quick.
It was a big ass list. Well, I sent you my notes to print off for me today, and they were 4 pages, which is a little bit more excessive. But I also think you usually print them in like way smaller font than this.
I know. I figured your eyes are getting bad as you get older.
Ooh, ouch. God, hopefully I'm not in a wheelchair by the time I'm your age.
No, man.
Zing.
There's hope for you.
Zing. And I have, masculinity, it takes work and it takes sacrifice and it takes resolve. And right, we live in a population of people that want to take the easy way out and they want comfort. And rather than putting in the effort to be more positive and more masculine, they then demonize the men that are doing it. And I really thought through this and I started thinking about it and I'm like, right, we all hear toxic masculinity, but really what's toxic is the lack of masculinity. So then I started attributing and breaking that down and really thinking more about that. And I think instead of two, I think there's three types or three buckets or three categories of men. And nobody is all of one, right? Like it's just, you attribute a lot more of your characteristics from one, or you get a lot more of your characteristics from one bucket. And the first bucket is going to be the masculine men. The masculine men is men that strive to be masculine and generally go about their business according to their own value structure and consistently work towards living life with the above listed masculine traits. Like that is what that's what masculinity is, right?
Yeah.
But then there's false masculine, and I coined these guys F masks. And I think the F masks are lazy and they want to be comfortable, and they spend a lot of time faking masculinity. And that's where the idea of toxic masculinity comes from, is actually from the F masks. It's the guys who fake it by telling everyone how they do things, telling them how hard they work, telling people how smart they are, repeatedly bragging and vocalizing to themselves and others. And that's one of the key things, is telling themselves and not being honest with themselves. And then they're not actually putting in the effort. So what happens then is, because they are not being true to themselves and they're not putting in the effort, it then subconsciously manifests itself in the opposite traits of a lot of those traits that we said. So then confidence becomes arrogance, and control becomes domineering, and strength becomes bullying and aggression towards weaker individuals, because then that puts you on a pedestal, right? Because yes, I'm not stronger than this guy over here who's really an actual good human being, but I'm stronger than this guy over here who might be trying to be better, but he's just not right now due to physical defect or whatever. Womanizing, they numb themselves and they're ignorant. Now, that right there is a big ass billboard, that human being. So we'll call that human being J, right? J then gives the third group of males, the beta males or the effeminate males, which is fine. If that's where you want to be, then that's okay. But what that does is then that gives them a billboard, or J is a person that they then say, this is masculinity. It's not, Lee over here, who is everything that we said a masculine man was, because if we point at Lee, then we have to put in that work, right? But if we point at J, then we can say this is toxic masculinity. But the F masks, J over here, is then giving them something to say.
You're talking about the J's giving the betas.
Yes, giving the betas a straw man. It's a straw man argument, right? Like Rush Limbaugh was the best at the straw man argument. He would put this fake person up on the stand and demonize them, but this fake person isn't even a real person. You're giving them all these attributes that you want to argue against just to look better, and that's what the betas end up doing. And they demonize masculinity, but it's not demonizing real masculinity. It's demonizing the F masks. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's where the idea of toxic masculinity comes from. It shouldn't be toxic masculinity. I have written down here, it should actually be called the toxic lack of masculinity.
Yeah, no kidding. But that's what you see right now. And, so we talked about the argument between the unhealthy criticizing the healthy, right?
Yeah. And it instantly, this is what I thought of when you brought that up. And then I know I've talked about it on the podcast before, but the sneaker fish, right?
Yeah.
Like you get these.
So the J group is the sneaker fish?
No, the betas are the sneaker fish. The J group is the J group is just so insecure. The J guy, the F masks are so insecure about their own abilities that they then manifest into all of these shitty toxic traits.
Yeah.
And then the betas end up being the sneaker fish, because they point and they go, you don't want that guy. You don't want to find somebody like that guy. You don't want to date somebody like that guy. You want to date some nice boy like me. And that's the sneaker fish move, right? Pretending to be the best friend, sneak in, and then plant your seed and multiply your DNA.
So the masculine dude isn't even in that comparison there?
Not really.
Which makes a lot of sense, yeah.
And then I think, and I wrote this down, I think that it manifests itself in a lot of unhappy marriages and relationships. I think it manifests itself in a lot of women who are dating men who they thought were a good fit, or married men who they thought were a good fit, but they're more of a girlfriend. You know, they're more of a BFF than they are an actual lover.
Yeah.
They're not a supporter. They're not a provider. They're not a strong backbone to lean on. They're not someone that pushes you to be the absolute best person that you can be and supports your dreams. They're somebody who you can sit around and talk small things with, right? Talk shit. You can make excuses.
Go clothes shopping.
Yeah, go clothes shopping. So I think that's one of the problems with this whole idea of toxic masculinity is that we don't separate, right? Because it doesn't make as good of a meme if you separate real men and real masculinity from the F masks. Yeah.
I think that's where the battle begins.
Yep.
The beta males, I don't know.
And I don't think you need, that's fine. That's if that's where you want to be.
You just don't want them running the country.
They should
slipping that one in.
They should never be in a place of power, a place of leadership. But one of the problems is that anybody that wants those jobs should not have them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an overgeneralization. But if you're pushing for power, you should never have fucking power. Power should come naturally because you're a natural leader that understands whatever you're in, whether it's a business, whether it's a military setting, whether it's a gym setting, whether it's a friendship. People should come to you because you're knowledgeable and you are motivational and inspiring and you support their biggest fucking dreams, right? You are the person that they're like, hey, I had this idea, and they're like, man, I know this guy and I know this guy. They're going to be the perfect person for you to talk to, whether you go through with it or not. This is where you need to start. If you need anything from me, I am here to fucking help you because I want to see everyone in my life become so successful and be so happy and just give their gift, right? They give their gift to the world.
Yeah.
But that's not the type of people who are in leadership.
No. I think a great movie that kind of illustrates the whole thing, even comparable to what's going on now, and not just in leadership, but just in masculinity alone, is you ever see Gladiator?
A long time ago. Which one is that? Is that the Russell Crowe one?
Yeah, Russell Crowe.
Fuck yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix. And
yeah.
That's a major lesson in leadership. And
yes.
Even, masculinity versus the F men, or even the J group, that tribe.
Yeah.
So yeah, you ought to pick that up, and it's a good 3-hour investment.
That one is a good 3-hour investment. I think I did that. So a lot of times when I'm doing my cardio at the gym, I'll throw a movie on. Well, I only do 30 minutes at a time, so it takes me multiple days. That one was a long one.
Just grab the popcorn,
Yeah,
and the family and watch it.
And the biggest thing with that movie, and it's the hero's tale. It's the Joseph Campbell's hero's tale. Is he has a place of power. His father is murdered, or not his father, but the leader of the country is murdered by his own son.
Yep.
Marcus Aurelius is murdered by his own son. His son sees that the men are going to follow. Is it Gerard Butler, right?
No, it's Russell Crowe.
This is Russell Crowe. The son sees that the people of power in the country are going to follow Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe's character then basically they try to murder him, but he gets out of it because he is a lifetime, he's a warrior. He gets sold into slavery and then works his way all the way back to his home country as a gladiator. And, we don't want to spoiler alert it, but it is, he didn't make his way back to power because he said, I am powerful. He made his way back to power because he kept his fucking mouth shut and he showed people what he was about.
Yeah. And he didn't want the position of leadership. He just wanted to retire on his farm and
with his kids,
take care of his family.
They murder.
Yeah. His wife and child. Yep.
Which there's something to say. I would never want to be in that position. I would never want to be in the position of outliving my wife and children. God forbid it ever happens. But the absolute fuck it that comes with being in that position, I no longer have anything to live for except for the rage that is boiling in my stomach.
Yeah.
If you put yourself there mentally, it's like, holy shit, that's powerful.
Yeah. So better grab that movie and watch it.
Awesome. What else about masculinity? What do you got?
No, I just got what the social reconstruction of masculinity is nowadays, and how you're seeing everything on the news about machismo is negative, and they're calling everything names testosterone poisoning. It's just, how do we get back to where we need to be? How do we get back to where masculinity is looked at as a positive trait? Because now you have women that want equality. So now the women are becoming like men, and sometimes the women are taking over the men's roles, and they don't want to.
No, they're taking them over out of necessity. If you want to, awesome. I support every fucking dream of every person around me, if they're good people.
Yeah.
And if you want those roles, awesome, do it. But it's pretty fucking sad if you're just doing it because you have to do it.
Right.
If you're doing it because you are a single mother of 2 kids who husband walked out on him, or don't even know where he went. He just left. Maybe he's not even in their life. Maybe it's 2 different, babies, daddies that drop their seed in you because they're pieces of shit. And you have to be both roles.
Yeah. And I think you see a lot more of that than women that, want to just take it on by themselves.
And I think that's, not to get totally off topic, but I think that is a little bit of the negative outcome of the welfare state of our country, because you can live now as a single mom with 3 kids without getting child support.
Yeah.
I know someone who refused to put one of 2 names on a birth certificate for a kid they just had, because if she refused to put a name on,
because she's going to get a lot more help,
because she'll get a lot more help. 100%.
Yeah. I know some women by, some of the programs that I've worked with the homeless, or, feeding families, and, they take advantage of that. And by having multiple seeds, multiple kids, and the more seeds they have, more support they get. So it could be 3, 4, different guys.
And then we're propagating damaged households.
Yeah.
With people who can't take care of themselves, raising other people. But I don't know that there's a fix for that.
Start getting rid of the freebies, and you'll see that starting to go away.
Right. Another one that I talked about, I kind of hit on, but this one kind of hit, is the escapism that we see today. Because it hurts not to be the person that you want to be. It hurts not to be in a relationship that you feel a lot of love. It hurts to work a job you don't enjoy. And instead of being completely personally responsible, and saying, I am in a shitty predicament, I am going to fucking fix it, we see people that numb themselves. Right.
Yeah.
And that's where the escapism comes in that I mentioned earlier. And some examples of escapism are masturbation, drugs, alcohol, gambling.
That's a materialism.
I was trying to say that like a spending is what I was trying, but yes, materialism, 100%. And it's just all of this trying to get a $10 high for 50 cents.
Yeah.
Right? So how do we fix it? I put together some bullet points. I have 2. I separated my bullet points into 2. First thing is to become more masculine yourself. The second thing is, if you are a parent, how to try to implement more masculinity into your kids. So, how to become more masculine yourself? Stop numbing the pain. Live in the pain. Realize that the pain is like a big fucking dash light. You can put tape over the dash light, but guess what? The brakes are still going to fucking fall apart. The engine's still going to fall out. You're still going to run out of gas. Doesn't stop the problem. So stop numbing the pain. Ditch the drugs. Ditch the alcohol. And when I say alcohol, I mean excessive alcohol. I don't mean having a drink with friends. I mean the people that drink every fucking night to numb the pain. Quit beating your meat. Quit doom scrolling. Thank you, Jimmy Smith. That one has made it into my vocabulary from his podcast. Quit getting into useless fucking arguments. How many people do you see with the fucking trolling arguments? Get off social media.
Yeah.
If you're using it like we talk about here all the time, if you're using it like a fucking tool for positive benefit, for inspiration, for connection, for contact to awesome people that you would never meet in your hometown, that's fucking good. But if you're blowing your time making bullshit arguments on fucking Facebook, turn the goddamn phone off. Stop making excuses. Man, how many people do you know that make every fucking excuse in the book?
Every single day.
And I have extreme personal responsibility, not just personal responsibility, not just being responsible, but extreme personal responsibility. I don't care where the fuck you are. I don't care what put you in the place you are. I don't care if it's your, socioeconomic status, your skin color, your one leg, your no arms, your shitty wife, your whatever. Today is the day that you say, I am responsible where I go from here. I take responsibility starting today. It doesn't mean that you have to say everything that happened to you is okay. It means that from here, the right foot is going to go in front of the left foot, and we are going to go get on a positive path. And be honest with yourself. If you have one of those, if you're doing some of those early numbing activities, why? What's causing it? Is it a poor relationship? Is it bad timing? Is it poor relationships with your kids? Is it you have no friends? Is it you have completely let yourself go and you hate how you look in the mirror? Is it you hate how you feel? Is it your job? What is it? Because you know exactly what it is. The minute that you start looking into yourself, you go, oh, it's this, this, and this.
Yeah. And personal responsibility starts with being honest with yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. I think so many people get away from that nowadays that, we're seeing it from the top down. Everybody's talking about somebody's got to take some personal responsibility for actions that are happening right now in the world.
Yep.
But I think it starts with everybody looking in the mirror and saying, okay, what do I need to improve on?
Everybody. Looking in the mirror.
Yep.
I'm not here to look at you. I'm here to say, this is how I think you best can go about it. You have to do it.
Yep.
Everyone is human. Everyone quits early at some point in time. Everyone fails. Everyone gives in. Everyone fucks up. It is the next step past each one of those things that makes you the man. It is, fuck, I just quit. I think I've told this Goggins story on here before, but when he was training to get in to Buds, not even at Buds, this was just his pre-training where he lost his 100 pounds in 3 months or whatever it was. He had one workout that he talks about in his book. It was supposed to be 100 pull-ups. I think he got like 92. And he told himself it was okay. We're good. You got 92 pull-ups. You're good. You're fine. And he was on his drive home when he realized, you motherfucker. And he sent himself back to the bar. He's sitting in, and that's where I use the line all the time. Put the bitch back on the bar. He sent himself back to the gym. He turned around, drove back, and he did 100. Not just the 8 that he fucking quit on. He punished himself. He did the full 100. Now, after I've done 100 pull-ups in one workout, it sucks. If I did 92 pull-ups and had to drive back to the gym, I would be doing 1 pull-up at a time to get to a fucking 100.
Oh,
That would be punishment. But that is what makes the stronger human being, is holding yourself accountable. Learn emotional control. Learn to control your emotions. We all feel emotions. We all get pissed.
Yeah.
We all get sad. We all get horny. We all get all of these crazy emotions. We're humans. We are emotional. But it's learning to control that gap between stimulus and action. And how do you learn that gap between stimulus and action? Is with mindfulness. It sounds so hippy dippy that people are like, oh, I'm not going to meditate. It's not meditation. You're not sitting around listening to, It is learning to control your own mental state. And by taking that little gap between stimulus and action and becoming aware of that gap and then widening that gap, it gives you the upper hand. And the only way to do that is to become completely aware and have some sort of mindfulness practice.
all right. Having that awareness allows you to control your emotions. Don't let your emotions control you,
Yes.
because you're seeing that a lot nowadays. It's the currency of the day.
And one thing that I know really helped me was learning about Stoicism. Stoicism is just this Stoic philosophers all had this kind of things happen to me or around me, but not in me. You rear end me in a car wreck, right? You weren't paying attention. You're on your fucking phone. You rear ended me. That happened, but that didn't happen to me. You didn't fucking drive out of your way to hit me. So yeah, it sucks. But we're going to be stoic. We're going to control our emotion. We're going to move on. If I broke something, we're going to get me to the hospital. Your insurance is going to pay for it. But getting pissed off and screaming and blaming you doesn't put me anywhere. It just takes my emotional state and takes me from an 8 to a 4. And that's the base of Stoicism. Find your purpose. And this one's tough. Find your purpose. What's your gift? What were you put on this world to do? That's different for everybody. And it's not a simple search, but it's one of the most important searches that you're ever going to do.
Yeah. But the only way to get there is you got to stop that numbing. I think I just see way too many people, materialism is the biggest one that keeps people from, realizing who they really are, because materialism allows people to pretend to be something else. Whether it's by what you drive, what you wear, what you own or a house you have. Sometimes people use that as their identity and they focus so much on that, so much energy, so much finances that it just, they never find out who they really are.
And then you're stuck in the
content.
And then you're stuck in the rat race.
Yeah. There's no contentment at all. You just got to have more, got to have more, got to have more. And these are the people that, I used to know people that I used to hang out with, but the problem is every time you hung out with them, it was always to look at the new addition to the house, look at the new vehicle, Never once did I hear them tell any guest, that, hey, you got something nice there. I'd see a guest buy a new car or something. They pull up and they couldn't even say something, constructive about that or give them a compliment. And what's happened is, this couple, everybody's kind of left them. They kind of went away from them. And there they are having to find another group to impress. So there's nothing in materialism or even numbing yourself that's going to, help you find yourself.
No, you're basically, The numbing is putting the black tape over the dash light, and the materialism is then writing Bentley on the middle of your Honda Civic gauge cluster, right? Like you're faking.
I've seen some Bentleys.
Yeah.
Like
for sure.
Chrysler's that they've put a little Bentley
100%.
on there.
Start working harder, but in the right direction. Because I can't tell you how many people that I know that put in a lot of effort, but they're basically just running on treadmills, right? Like they're not working in the right direction. And I know you and I have talked about it a lot before. We have the fleeting, right? We have the fleeting, too many what is it? Too many irons in the pot? Is that what it's?
Too many irons in the fire.
There you go. Too many irons. The fleeting too many irons in the fire.
Yeah.
I'm not moving any big fucking boulder anywhere because I'm moving a bunch of little pedals all the time.
Yeah.
So start working harder, and trust me, you don't work hard enough. Fucking look at people like Goggins and people like Jocko and people like Tim Kennedy. I started doing those Tim Kennedy 4 pillars workouts once a week. Fuck you. Holy shit. Mind you, it's basically upgraded CrossFit. But dude, those suck.
Yeah.
But you're not working hard enough, no matter what. I'm not working hard enough. You're not working hard enough. Nobody's working hard enough. Work on being more decisive. That one's hits home a little bit. I hem and haw once in a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Should I do this? I don't know. And then I'll weigh both sides and go back and forth. Just make a decision. Make a realistic decision with the information you have and stick behind it. And if you fuck up, admit when you're wrong.
Yep.
Hone your skill set. And I know Byron talked about this one, slapping on your skills. No, what did he say? Banging on your skills to get them better. When you get a skill set, realize that the only thing that is going to hone that skill set is doing it.
Yep.
We're going to get better every podcast. 100 podcasts from now, we're going to be fucking amazing. But the only way to do it is to do those 100 podcasts. We don't just magically put in buy some sort of fucking recorder system that makes us all of a sudden sound awesome. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. For all those sharpshooters out there, you're not going to watch a movie. You're not going to watch John Wick and all of a sudden, get on a range and be.
I just bought a
super
new
range, dude.
Where are we at? Oh, we still got a little bit of time. I just bought a new FN 509 LS Edge. It's an awesome 9mm. Yeah. I love it. It's gorgeous. It's smooth and feels great in my hand. I fucking held because I don't have a full size 9. I have full size 45s and then I have a carry 9. So I was like, I should get a full size 9, right? Because once you start shooting 9, you're like, oh, this shit's cheap as fuck.
Oh yeah.
So you can bang, a few hundred rounds and it doesn't break the bank. So I started holding all these different, the SIG P360, the Canic, there was a bunch of different guns that I felt them, held them, shot a few of them, and this FN just felt perfect, felt like butter in my hand.
Yeah.
So I get out and I start running it. I mean, I ran fucking 300-400 rounds in the first week. Legitimately had to knock a lot of rust off. Like there was some rusty dirt there.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, I think Marcus Luttrell even ran this once where some guy challenged him to go on a range, right? And Luttrell hadn't shot for a while. And this guy beat him, just basically shooting paper.
Yeah.
But, people have to realize that, it doesn't matter if you're a SEAL, beret, ranger. It's if you don't practice, if you don't get your muscle memory and constantly work at it, that skill set, it goes away. It's like working out. Same thing. So for the young guys that, if you're getting into shooting, spend time on a range or spend time just drawing with a blank,
drawing and acquiring the site acquisition.
Yeah.
Site acquisition is that goes away so fast.
Yeah.
And have somebody load your mags with an unknown number of bullets.
Oh.
Have somebody load your bags with an unknown number of bullets, because you will catch yourself flinching and pulling and pushing and all this shit because you don't know how many you're getting to your last one, right? So you're like 1, 2, 3, click, and that's when you see it. You don't see it when it actually fires. You see it when you dry fire, when you don't know it's coming, and then you're like, oh fuck. You watch yourself push the barrel down. You watch yourself cut it in left. You watch yourself do all this nasty shit that you don't catch when you're actually firing real bullets.
Oh, I suppose, yeah. Yeah, I see a lot of people scared of the muzzle brake.
Yeah. So, all right, back to
masculinity.
Get stronger, faster, and healthier. And we all can be stronger. We all can be healthier.
Yep.
We all can be faster. We all can have more endurance.
Yeah. I mean, don't spend your time jerking off. I mean, spend your time basically studying, learn every day. There's so much out there to learn about workouts, so much out there to learn about diets. And guess what? You try some, it doesn't work. I mean, I'm almost 50 years old. Last week talking to Jimmy, all of a sudden I tried, I always had this mindset that there's a limitation how much protein I can take in one sitting. And that's what's caused me so much grief trying to plan eating, trying to get the amount of protein that I need to maintain, my physique. And it's just when Jimmy Elson said, oh yeah, don't worry about that. Your body's going to use it if, you've broken down your body and needs to repair, right? And last week I tried it and it was just like night and day. Workouts were amazing. I mean, I was pulling 4 wheels today, no problem. And I could just kept adding more. And, body just feels good. And it doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart, the second day after.
And you're 50 years old.
Yeah. Almost, but
yeah, or whatever. You're close. You're
right
goddamn
around the corner.
You're goddamn close to 50 years old.
But yeah, it's just a little tweak like that. You try it and it's like, hey, it works. And guess what? You're going to try a lot of different diets that aren't going to work. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you need to at least get to that point instead of just sitting there philosophizing about diets or exercise.
Arguing about diets.
Arguing with other people.
My God. You can't do keto. You can't do carnivore. You can't do this. Do whatever the fuck makes you feel good.
Yeah. It's nothing worse than you having an out of shape doctor or out of shape people sitting there arguing with you about being healthy. I'm like, why don't you turn around and just apply half that shit you're trying to tell me? So it's just a waste of time.
As far as the materialism issues go, intelligent allocation of funds. Stop buying stupid shit to numb your pain. This was a big one that we tried to implement with our kids, especially with grandparents, because grandparents want to buy your kids fucking everything. They want to be the grandparents that come to Christmas with the big ass bag of toys. So we did is we made our grandparents or our parents start investing in experiences instead of investing in things. So instead of you buying them fucking $200 in toys, you need to take them and give them an experience that they will remember. And that was almost like pulling teeth for grandparents. Fuck yeah.
Oh, wow. You think they'd like?
You'd think they'd want it, but it's just different, right? It's different.
Right.
Support the wildest dreams of the people you care about. And that one, I can't even like talk about how important that is. I mean, when somebody around me says something like, man, that thing that you did opened my eyes, or that thank you for pushing me, or my wife will be like, I'm super grateful today for your push to do this extra thing. And it's like, fuck, man, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Yeah. I get a lot of people that are like, oh, I wish I could do that. Oh man, I like that. And I always tell them, what's stopping you?
Yeah, you can.
What exactly is stopping you?
Yeah.
And there's really no excuse not to be able to do anything.
So that's everything I have. I'm sure there's a million more things, but we are on hour 6. So I'm going to quickly go through how to raise boys to be more masculine, but it's not just boys. I mean, this is how to raise kids better. Regularly talk to them about being personally responsible. Show them what it's like to be personally responsible, and incentivize them to be personally responsible. If they come to you and say, hey, I did this, I fucked up, then hey, tell them, you know what, because you did that, the punishment is going to be less, or there's not going to be a punishment because you were personally responsible and you came to me and you told me. And that then incentivizes. It's just like training fucking dogs.
Yeah.
Support them when they want to give up and lovingly push them to try harder. And I put lovingly push them to try harder because it's not being a fucking dick. It's not. But when they want to give up, tell them you got more in there. Yeah. I know you can do it. Take a breath. Regroup. Let's go again. Show them how to experience life. Your kids learn from you. It's not the whole do as I say, not as I do thing. I mean, you got to show them how to do it. Show them how to admit when you're wrong. That means you admitting when you're wrong too. And that's been a big one for us in the last 10 years with our kids is, hey, we're human too. We fuck up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I messed up. I read that thing wrong. I didn't do that right. I'm really sorry. Be a fucking human being. Push them towards their passions. You know what your kids' passions are. You can see it.
Yeah.
I can tell you in a second what my 2 kids' passions are. Push them towards it. It doesn't mean that they have to do that the rest of their life. It doesn't mean they have to do that for work, but push them to explore their passions. If your kid loves soccer, but maybe they're not going to be a soccer player, but hey, they could coach soccer. They could be a soccer writer. They could be, you know, a fucking bus driver for a professional soccer team. Who knows?
Right.
But push them towards their passions.
As long as they enjoy it, right?
That's right.
And don't be the parent that tries to live their dreams through their kids.
No, you know what your kids' passions are,
Right.
and they're not the same as yours.
Yep.
They're not. Implement a regular mindfulness practice and do it with them to create the habit, because you can't just tell them to do it. You're going to have to do it with them. They got to build the habit. And if you start that early, from every parenting and child raising book that I've ever read, that is one of the most important things that you can do to help your kids is the mindfulness practice, because they're growing right now. Their brain is elastic. And if you can get that started this early, then that will pay dividends for the rest of their life. Glorify hard work, not cutting corners. And this is another big one from all the stuff that I've read, is praise the effort, not the outcome. But you can't praise false effort. If your kid puts in a half-ass effort and doesn't get anything done, you can't say, I'm really proud of how hard you work there, because that doesn't do anything. But the times that your kid does try their ass off and gets an F, or tries their ass off and loses, you praise the shit out of how hard they worked, not the outcome. Even if they work their ass off and get an A, or work their ass off and win that game, you are not awesome because you won. You are awesome because I saw all those fucking sweat hours that you put in.
Yeah.
Engineer their diet. All that shit starts early, man. You can't feed your kids fish sticks every day and expect them to become something.
Set the example.
Work out with them. Be fun. Have fun with them. Go on walks, go on bike rides, take them to the gymnasium, stuff like that. Like, build a healthy lifestyle with them. A big one especially for single moms that don't necessarily have the time or ability to do a lot of this, is martial arts. Martial arts implements the physical, it implements the mental, it implements the respect and the responsibility. I'm sure there's a lot of martial arts that are better than other ones, but they all have a similar.
It requires a level of discipline to
Yes.
get in any.
Be an intelligent part of their lives. Don't baby them and call them on their bullshit. So when they're trying and when they're not trying.
Right.
You don't have to be a dick about it. Be like, hey, I saw that. You gave up. Why'd you give up? Because you didn't think you could do it? I think you can do it. Let's go back and try again. Oh, you couldn't do those monkey bars? Here, let's try. You do 2 and I'll catch you. I think, you almost got 2. I think you can do 3. Parent your fucking kids.
Right. And the biggest thing is be an example, because if you want disciplined kids, you got to be disciplined yourself, because they're going to be watching. And if you're just telling them to do stuff you're not willing to do, they're just going to look at you and be like, well, mom or dad doesn't do it. Why should I have to do it?
Or if you're making excuses for yourself and they see that,
they'll do the same thing.
They're going to do the same goddamn thing.
Yep.
Wow. Hour and 12 minutes. We got to wrap this up. I really didn't think this was going to go that long. All right, everybody have a great fucking day.
All right. Peace out.